This is the Coach Bryan Moore Show with Opelika head football coach Bryan Moore. And now with Coach Moore, the voice of the Bulldogs, Van Riggs.
Welcome into the Bryan Moore Show. Van Riggs with you, and we're excited to be with you here for the spring football edition of the Bryan Moore Show, presented each week by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika during the season. And we're glad to be coming with a special spring edition here as we get ready for the spring football game coming up Friday night inside Bulldogs Stadium against the Wetumpka Indians. And we're going to kick the show off not with Bryan Moore, but with defensive coordinator Adam Massey. And Coach, I know coming into this season and this spring, you know, you've got the side of the football everybody goes, oh my goodness, you have no starters returning, a whole new group. But a lot of these guys had a lot of experience, and I know you've been excited to get out there with them this spring.
Yes, it's a great group coming back. I would say it's not all true. We got one starter coming back this year. So, Jermaine Thomas at DN. And so, you know, it's a lot of kids that mixed in and played some last year. And, you know, a good thing we played a decent amount of JV games as well. And so those guys got that experience. And so, I mean, the door's open for them. And so it's an exciting time to see those guys and the growth that they've made in the offseason there. And we'll get a chance Friday night to let it rip.
A lot of continuity, too, on the coaching staff, too. You've got most of all your assistants back. I know that's big. You're familiar with these guys.
Yeah, that's one of the things throughout my entire career here, you know, has been a lot of these guys that have stayed here at Opelika. And so we got the same guys coming back. And so that's, I mean, it helps a lot, you know, with the kids, you know, having the same voice. So, yeah, excited about that as well.
I'll kind of ask you the same question. We're going to talk to Coach J.D. Atkins on the offensive side before we get to Coach Moore. But how big has it been, Cade McGee's strength and conditioning program been? I know it's huge in the trenches.
Oh, it's been huge. That guy does an unreal job with those kids, not only from a street standpoint, but just the competitive side that he brings every day with the different things that they do. So you can directly see, you know, a correlation once you step out on the field with what they've been doing. So that is, I mean, I can't say enough good things about what he's done with our guys to get them ready and kind of pass them over to us to see what we can get done with them, with the scheme and everything else. So it's been fun.
What is it that you really want to see in a spring or really take advantage of in a spring before you get to the summer and the fall practice?
You know, a lot of it is obviously it's the last time you're going to be able to put some pads on.
Yeah. And
so the physicality part of it and which guys are going to be to the standard that we know throughout the summer we can begin to plug them in and work them at multiple positions there. And so the spring helps us identify and really, you know, a lot of times the guys coming back, we got a good idea about, but those kids that are rising 10th graders are kids that you really haven't seen mix in with those older kids. And so those are the ones that you want to try to figure out which of those guys could potentially help us, you know, next year.
And I know depth will be an issue. It always is, you know, and when you're playing 7A football, I know you'll want to rotate in a lot of guys and get some guys a lot of playing time Friday night against Wetumpka.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one thing, obviously, from last year, you know, losing the guys that we lost. And a lot of those guys had played for 2 years. You know, some of them had played for 3 years, you know, and so losing those key pieces, you know, but having multiple guys, you know, step up this year and be able to look at different positions and feel pretty good about our depth and where we're at. So we'll find out Friday night. And, you know, same thing I told them the last week in the scrimmages. You know, those are times where we can truly gauge, and it's moving days. Some guys are going to move on up the board, and some guys are going to move down the board, you know, in regards to the standard and depth chart that we're looking at.
And I know secondary and linebackers, you know, there's a lot of guys people will be familiar with, but there's going to be some new guys stepping in some of those roles too.
Yeah, there won't be too many of them that they will be familiar with, to be honest with you. Xavier Thomas played some for us in packages towards the end of the year there, so he'll be at the back end with Hayden Lipscomb. Lipscomb didn't play hardly any on Friday nights, and The corner-wise, Jamel Griffin and Braden Howard and Jay Battle, those are three guys that got a little bit of experience out there at corner there. And then, in the box, linebacker-wise, old Stormer Norman Matthews out there at strong safety for us. And then Caden Harris and LaKedrick Burks, on the inside. And then Trey Stone that came in. And so those guys, and then you got some guys that we're looking at, like Elijah Oden, those guys that can help us out tremendously. So it's some dudes that have been in this program that know what's expected of them. And so, it's the next man in. So it's a great opportunity for them.
Looking forward to seeing the whole group on display coming up Friday night again against Wetumpka. Kickoff set for 6:30 for the varsity. The JV will get a chance to play before then. I know you'll be active in that game as well. Absolutely.
I mean, that's, build a program, you got to get the next guys ready. And so, some of those guys, Xavier Thomas, he was a JV guy that was really third on the depth chart at his position last year. And in the middle of the year, we moved him to another position, and he's a dude that plays a lot. So, it's opportunities are there, for the taking with those guys. And so we're excited to see what those guys are able to do, cutting loose and getting it to hit somebody different that ain't wearing red and black. So
looking forward to it Friday night. That's Coach Adam Massey, defensive coordinator Adam Massey. We'll roll things over on the other side of the football and talk with offensive coordinator J.D. Atkins as we continue next here on the Bryan Moore Show. Continuing here on the Bryan Moore Show with offensive coordinator J.D. Atkins. Coach, I know it's excited to get out in the spring, just like we talked to Coach Massey. Talk about your group on the offense. What stood out? What's some bright spots here in the spring?
Yeah, we're just really fired up to kind of build on last year. We have the fortune of being able to bring back some guys that played a lot of meaningful minutes from us last year at all three levels, really. And so being able to build on that and just kind of pick up where we left off, not really have to start over fresh, has been really, really cool to see the growth and maturation of our guys, of our staff as well, and it's been a lot of fun.
And your starting quarterback coming back in was a sophomore last year, now a junior. Boy, talk about the experience he gained last year in that 7A region, and then especially in the playoffs and overtime game at Hoover.
Oh, no doubt.
All of that has to be huge for a young quarterback.
Yeah, kind of thrown into the fire, right?
Yeah.
15-year-old, can't even drive, gets thrown in as a sophomore Q, and probably the best region in football in 7A. Thought he handled it really, really well. It's no secret that we kind of limited some things and took care of him and tried to run the football and play to our defensive strengths. And I thought he handled that really well, really mature for his age. He grew throughout the year, led the state in accuracy and completion percentage, did all the things we asked him to do. And so really excited about the offseason he's had, both physically and mentally. Some of the things that he's doing, some of the things we're putting on his plate now, you'll see that he's got a much bigger role in who we are offensively.
You talk about the guys carrying the football. I know you're really excited about the group you've got back there.
No doubt. Obviously led by Jordan Waits, right? 3-year starter for us. Absolute just dude all the way around. 4.5 GPA, ambassador for the school, does
right.
everything. And then obviously Blake Johnson comes back as well, the hammer, as everyone knows. A lot of fun to play with Blake. And then there's some young guys stepping up. We've got Jalen Nelson and CJ Pink, who are both in that 27 group, who are coming up to get meaningful minutes. And then obviously everyone's heard about CJ Johnson coming in as well, and really looking forward to what he'll do in the red and black for us.
Yeah, and CJ's a kid that, may be new to the school now, but he's an Opelika kid that's coming back to Opelika.
No doubt. And really that's what we're here for, is to get the kids that should be in Opelika back in Opelika. And it's good to see him come back, and it's good to see the impact he's had very fast, and the kids have just kind of welcomed him in, and, excited to see him play this year.
And I know some of those guys in the backfield are going to have to catch the football too, running routes, because that's an area that may be a little thin right now.
For sure. So we've got a good receiver group going. Leland Washington comes back and is kind of the leader of that group. But as well as him, you've got some guys like Cam Rayleigh, Jakari Walton, Leland Bell's moved over and is playing receiver, as well as Bennett Young still there. So there's some experience there. But no doubt we're going to use pieces like Jordan Waits and CJ and Blake, move them around out of the backfield, lined up in the slot as well, and try to get them the ball as many ways as we can.
And I know the trenches are always important, and
Yes,
you've
sir.
moved some guys around there and some new guys playing some different positions, and good group though there.
Yeah, so 2 for sure returning starters right there with Eric Mason and Darius Whitlow. Right, they come back playing the same spots, really comfortable. Love where they're at. Both college football players, big time guys. We moved Julian Pritchett from tight end to left tackle. Really excited about the growth he's had. He's put on a ton of weight, and it looks really good right now. So he'll keep developing over the summer, as well as some young guys that have stepped up. Jeremy Dillard is a guy that will start for us at left guard. Really excited about his growth. He'll be a junior this upcoming year. And then we got guys like Robert Woods and Corbin Fears and Jermel Sparks, who's an upcoming sophomore, that are all competing for kind of those last few jobs. So we hope, like last year, to be able to play 7 or 8 of those guys and kind of rotate and keep them fresh. But we'll see kind of how that goes.
And I mean, we've talked about depth. When you're talking about quarterback too, you've got good depth behind your starting quarterback, which is always good in 7A.
Yes, sir. So we've got 2 behind them right now. We got Fuller Young, who's the same age. He'll be a junior. And then Whit Cooper, who's the upcoming sophomore. And both those 2 have kind of been battling for the second spot right now. Extremely excited about their mental growth and how much more of the game they're being able to understand and withhold and make some checks at the lines and get things right. We're really excited about that. And then Whit kind of brings another dimension with his ability to run the football and be a more physical kid and a very vocal kid. And so excited about his growth, excited to get to see him play varsity football.
We saw, for those who haven't seen on social media yet, the spring documentary that's out now, and you saw Coach Moore get onto that offensive group a little bit, you know, and just you got to get 4 yards. And hey, that was the story in the game at Hoover.
No doubt.
Had the season left off, 4 yards away from winning the game. What do you want to see from your group in a spring game on Friday night? What's the goals for this team, for the group at least, going into the game?
Yeah, so number 1 for us, and this was kind of like our motto last year, which is it's all about the ball. So number 1 is ball security. It's protecting the football. It's good snaps. It's good decisions. It's if I have it, I protect it. And if I don't have it, I'm chasing it. So that's always number 1 for us. That's what we're looking for at practice. That's what we're looking for at walkthroughs. It doesn't matter. That is number 1. Number 2 is we want to see some guys compete. I know Coach Massey mentioned it earlier. This is a rise and fall day. And we said it before our scrimmage last week. Somebody will step up in this game that we weren't expecting and will kind of prove themselves as a staple of our offense. Somebody will fall back. And excited to see our guys get the payoff of everything from January until this point to get to just go compete against somebody else.
We're looking forward to it. Coach, we appreciate the visit.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Offensive coordinator J.D. Atkins. We come back, we'll talk with head coach Bryan Moore as we continue here on the Bryan Moore Show. Welcome back on the Bryan Moore Show with Coach Bryan Moore. And Coach, we talked offense, we've talked defense. Just kind of tell us your thoughts on the spring. What were your goals and what you've seen so far out of your team?
Yeah, you know, I kind of get out of the scheme piece on both sides, and I'm a personnel person, you know, and for me, it's been all about moving kids up and down the depth chart, you know, moving the pieces to get our best 11 on the field on both sides. And then obviously, like last year, Coach Ferguson and I really dig into the special teams. And that's been huge as well. You know, just trying to find a way to get our rising 10th grade DBs and receivers on these teams because we got a talented group coming up, you know, and we got to find a place to play them. And, you know, Coach McCracken taught us, you know, you don't want to start them necessarily on offense and defense if you don't have to. But if you can play them on those special teams, that can really make a difference. But pleased with spring. I mean, it's been, you know, year 2 is so different than year 1. And just the sheer attention to detail. Everybody bringing all of our staff back is such a gift, and just us understanding, you know, what it is that we need to do, all the little things that you bring back as far as your culture and, you know, the job that Cade McGee's done in that weight room to create an environment where we just work hard and, you know, we get after it, and the little things matter, like having your feet behind the line and all these things. That's what spring's been about to me. It's been about managing bigger numbers. I mean, we're 200 plus, 9 through 12, and this afternoon, which is Monday when we air this show, or when we tape the show, we've got 9th graders coming over as well. We've got 75 of them and over 120 varsity players. So we're talking 200 plus total kids here that we've got to manage, you know, where guys are and which end of the field they're working on and making sure that everybody's getting reps, because we both know, you know, this day and time, if kids aren't getting reps and getting to play a little bit, they're probably not going to be with you. And we want those guys with us. We want these huge numbers. I think it makes a difference. And for us to compete consistently at 7A and not have those drop-off years to where we just simply reload, it has everything to do with our numbers, developing kids, And I've been really pleased with that piece of spring. And like I mentioned, pleased with our coaching staff and just excited to see them Friday night.
A lot of people are getting a chance watching the video now to see some of the practice from the spring and the footage. And Coach, I was so impressed just coming out for the brief moment I was there a couple weeks ago, just watching how you run practice. You've got the microphone on. They're going station to station. It's such an organized piece. But when you've got a big group like that, you've got to keep them busy and you got to keep them moving.
You know, it's one of those things, that microphone is funny because I didn't quite realize how country I am, you know, until that. But you know, we need a way to communicate with them all. And when we've got 200 kids, I can't yell loud enough to get to all of them, and so I've started to use the official's microphone, you know, and so Dana's going to be, you know, it'll be ready for Dana when he's ready this Friday. But that was the thing. I said, how can I communicate with them? Like, we got the music going, and it comes and goes. You know, there's a program that I use to program when the music plays and when we have teaching time and that sort of thing. But that helps us tremendously to know that, all right, we call our first group red and second group black. We got red and black on this end and white and the freshmen on the other end, and we're all getting reps. We got coaches divided, and then we'll go into like circuits, and we got multiple circuits going on at one time where the varsity kids are working through 3 stations here, and then the younger guys, JV and freshmen, are working through another. And I'll tell you this, man, it's been a great preview for summer, because the way that we're going to structure our summer is we're together from 7 to 11, freshmen through varsity. So we're going to be able to use our staff and the things that Dr. Seymour has given us and Ms. Fisher's given us as far as our coaching numbers, you know, and Coach Montel now too, but use that staff more effectively to influence and really connect with more kids on a daily basis. We're going to feed them twice in the summer and all these little things that we're doing. But back to your point, it takes that level of structure. And like literally, you know, if people want to know what do I do besides strength and conditioning, work through 26 periods of practice to where 200 plus kids are going to be and 20 coaches 9 through 12 are going to be, like where our support staff's going to be, our trainers and filmers, and that's what I do all day. I'm a logistics guy now. And so it's about personnel, it's about logistics, it's about efficiency, and I'm eager to see how year 2, JD just made a point, Coach Atkins made a point, he said, you know, our JV, white group, okay, as we call them, those guys are further along now than they were a year ago. I said, well, they should be. And then next year's group should be as well. So like where you really start to see that is, like if your young guys, JV guys, can run your varsity offense, like can they run all of it? Can they go through all the tags, all the calls up front, all the defensive structure, all that? That's where you're starting to win, and that's where 7 JV games and 8 freshman games and our great middle school, you know, and the job that they do in 7th and 8th grade, that's where all that pays off. And so, and working on our youth leagues as well. So that's where you start to see sort of the fruits of your labor, and that's what we're starting to see this spring. But again, we're just scratching the surface on that. Over time, that's going to get better and better, and I just am grateful and appreciative for the resources and for all that we have in the Jumbotron and everything in our stadium, being able to use all that to be able to help orchestrate practice, again, at a higher efficiency.
Yeah, and when we talked when spring football began, you said, boy, we're so far along, much further along this time than we were last year, because you were just coming in. You hadn't even had your chance to get your hands on the guys. So you know the guys now, and it's so much easier coming into year 2 for you.
Well, you know, in the teaching world, you call it, you know, foundational knowledge, like what you learned in a class before you started that class, right? It's like, well, I'm going to take Algebra 1 before Algebra 2. It's the same thing in football. I mean, if you don't change who you are in your identity, then you can just build on what you built last year. So like baby TJ Thomas, you know, I'm down there a lot of times with the defensive ends, with Coach Prescott, and I try to help the scout team offense versus the defense. And I say, remember, you know, against Central, this is how we played it, right? Or against Auburn last year, this is how we played it. Same thing on offense. You know, remember the route, Jay Wash, that we ran against Enterprise, and this is how we did it? Okay, boom, we got it. You know, it's just so much different, you know, than just introducing information, and the building blocks are there again relationally. The trust is there that when I tell them stuff, and when Cade tells them stuff, and JD and Adam, when we tell them stuff, the kids understand, like there's a trust there. Like Coach is doing this for my best interest, right? Like he's been with me for almost 2 years now and just has really poured into my life. And so now I'm going to believe that guy's trying to help me get it to the next level. And then you sign 8 kids. And then you go, all right, to the next wave. If you'll do what I tell you and listen and trust, then you'll be the next one, you know, to sign. And so, again, the proof, that's what I kept saying last year before the year. I was like, well, all the home visits and relational stuff, that's all good, but we got to win. Right. And we got to be successful, or it doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, and we were. And so we feel like there's more meat on that bone too. And so I'm excited. I was worried about 30 seniors, and still there's some spots that need to improve, but there's some kids stepping up. I heard a guy say one time, you never know what people are capable of until you give them a job and just watch them flourish, and I've done that with coaches like JD, and the job he's doing with our offense, and just and other guys too coming along, but same thing with players. Put them in a starting role and see what they look like.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed at what they'll do Friday versus Wetumpka, a guy that hadn't played a whole lot, but it's his time, and he's ready. He's waited his turn. He's been vigilant and focused, and he's ready to produce on the field, and so I'm encouraged and ready to see it.
All right, how will the game run Friday night, Coach? I know JV's going to play first, and then we'll roll into the varsity.
That's right.
Will the game, quarter-wise, how will that work?
Yeah, so 3 quarters each. So the JV will play 3 10-minute quarters. There won't be a lot of kicking game. Like, we'll run some of our young kickers and snappers, and we'll go through the operation of that. And then so they'll go 3 quarters, 10 minutes, and then the varsity will play 3 12-minute quarters. Now, of course, if we get to that 3rd quarter and we say, hey, we've had enough, in either game, then Coach Woods and I'll we'll cut it out. Because we want to stay healthy. We want to get enough reps. I'd like to see us play maybe 2/3 of a game, somewhere in that range as far as rep count. That'd be around 40 to 45 snaps per guy. I don't want them to play 65 or 70 snaps right now. We're not ready for that. And your health and your injury, prevention piece, you got to be cognizant of that. But I will say that going through and playing 3 quarters varsity wise with kicking game puts us in a great spot. Like, we've gone through full units. Coach Ferg's done a great job on that. Reese is a year older and stronger, and we're replacing Brody, so that's a big piece. But we want to go through the operations of all that and just make sure we're ready. And then what you do is you take that film, pour into it, dig into it over the next week. And then, of course, we graduate the 23rd, and we'll take a week off. And then starting June 2nd, you just start fixing the problems. You start filling those holes. And if you need to shuffle the deck a little bit and, move a guy around, even from offense to defense or so on, you can do that at that time. But spring gives you that eval, not only the 9 days of practice, but also the game, to be able to make those calls and to feel good about that. But I'm excited. Like I said, I really like this team. I like how connected we are. And again, I'm eager to see us put it on the field.
All right, Friday night, Bulldogs Stadium against Wetumpka. Again, JV will kick it off first, and they start at
they start at 5, and so they'll play those 3 quarters, and the varsity will start at 6:30.
Okay, we'll be on there with coverage on 97.7 Kicker FM. We'll start our coverage at 6, roll right into the varsity action at 6:30, so if you can't make it, you can listen to all the action on the Kicker and, of course, on the iHeartRadio app. Thursday also, very first spring football luncheon.
Yep.
And we do this, I know, every week during the fall, but you'll have a special one here in the spring to kind of put a wrap on spring football practice.
That's right. We're excited about it Thursday. I'll probably bring our coordinators over and let them talk about personnel on their side. And so I'm just excited about that too, to see everybody and hopefully grow those numbers. We were 50-ish. 50 to 60, I would say, on average. I'd like to see us get that thing to 100. We can hold 300 in the room, so or 350 in the room, so let's keep growing that. Yeah,
and it's a great bargain, too. $10 for a lunch. It's at First Baptist Church, Opelika's 316 Center, so if you're kind of unfamiliar with where that's located, kind of on the side of the church or the main sanctuary there, you'll see us. We'll have some signage up as well for you, but you can RSVP for that online at Facebook, and you can also just show up Thursday. Again, that's at noon, First Baptist Church, Opelika. Also, time to renew your quarterback club memberships. If you have not had a chance to see those, I know we've got a flyer floating around out there, Coach, but we'd love to get everybody involved. Some new packages, some different deals, and even some lunch included on some of those options.
Well, and that doesn't just have to be people in the city. We've got alumni that are all over the country, and some are sending in, and we leveled that off, and I know you've been a big part of that, Van, and our group and our committee, but leveled that off so that it didn't mean that you had to pay, a big amount and need to be here.
Right.
It can just be hey, here's $100, $150 for my contribution, to our quarterback club to help our kids, because all those resources, for those that don't know, go right into the kids. Like it's simply a support group to raise money and help to get things to fill the needs of kids, which is really what we're all here to do anyway. So been really pleased with that and thankful for all you guys and what you've done for that as well.
Absolutely. Look for more information on social media on that. And of course, the football team's got a website too with the info, I think, coming there as well.
That's right. OpelikaFootball.com has everything from this show, posting there, to schedules, to all of our levels, middle school, night, JV, and varsity. You can find all information there.
All right, hope to see you at Bulldog Stadium Friday night, but first we hope to see you at the lunch on Thursday, First Baptist Church in Opelika. From Coach Bryan Moore, I'm Van Riggs. We'll see you next time on The Bryan Moore Show.